Well, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. But you, man of God, flee from all this and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Fight the good fight of the faith. It is easy to do the easy thing, and it is hard to do the hard thing. But do the hard thing when it is the right thing. Don't do the easy thing when it is the wrong thing. It's so easy to pursue stuff and wealth and things. If you do that, the culture will reward you. They will celebrate you. Oh, you're awesome and you're great. Greed will consume you and you will lose what you work for. You will lose what you desire, because easy come, easy go in this mortal life, and absolutely everything will be gone by the time you're dead. You get to take nothing with you. You are not an Egyptian pharaoh, and even if we mummify you in a pyramid and stick all your stuff, you don't get it. You came into this world roughly the same way you will go out. You came in probably slimy and wet, and maybe you'll go out that way, but the idea is you have no stuff with you, though it's so easy everywhere you look to give in to the pressure, to give in to the temptation, to follow the rest of the crowd. Stand firm. Stand strong. Don't give up. Don't quit. Fight the good fight because you know what's right. It won't be easy, but it's right. So fight and don't give up. We think of the phrase, put your money where your mouth is, as kind of a challenge, if not an outright insult. Yeah? So if you've ever used the phrase, or I'm assuming you haven't had it used on you, the concept of put your money where your mouth is basically telling you, well, prove it. Prove it to me that you believe what you say. So I sort of feel that there's some kind of disconnect between what you're saying and what you're doing, right? You're telling me that this one thing is super important, it's essential, it's critical, it's you got to do it, it's the most important thing ever, but I'm not actually seeing you act as though it's that important. So put your money where your mouth is. Or maybe somebody likes to brag. Someone likes to boast. I'm so great, I'm so awesome, or this is definitely going to happen, or that will never take place. Oh yeah? Put your money where your mouth is. Show me that you're serious about this, right? And so we understand the phrase, and there is kind of a challenge implicit in it that is almost a challenge of integrity. I think that you are not actually acting the way that you say that you believe, so show me. And that phrase, put your money where your mouth is it's where I see our readings connect today. In one level or the next. Put your money where your mouth is. Show me that what you say is important is carried out through the way that you act. Is connecting gospel to epistle to Old Testament reading in a way that I think is significant and is a reminder to us all. To have that sense of integrity, what we say is important, what we say is critical and essential, we actually act that way within our choices, in our decisions, and in our lives. So we get our story, this gospel story that Jesus tells from Luke about the rich man and Lazarus. I actually don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I'm going to hope that A, you've heard the story before, and B, you get the point. Okay? The rich man has everything. Lazarus, the poor beggar, he's right at the guy's front door. This rich man must have to step over him every day, and he will do absolutely nothing for him. Everything that he accumulates is only for himself. They both die, and one's got real bad now, and one's got real good now, and please, and help, and no, we can't, and I'm sorry. And so basically the point of God has blessed you with stuff and with things, but if your heart is far from Him, all the stuff and the things are just for you, it's going to end badly. And I think we know this, right? That if you're all about simple accumulation or wealth for the sake of wealth or pride for the sake of pride, that there's going to come a day that you can't take it with you. And even the stuff that you have gained, you will lose. And the poor man who had nothing, will have everything when it really counts. Well, that sort of brings me back to that connection that we had from our epistle where I started from, about the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Now, that phrase, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, is kind of a well-known phrase, kind of an aphorism, but it tends to come out, I think, as a misquote. Okay? We tend to hear it as money is the root of all evil. Does it say that? No. In this English translation, that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, it's a pretty fair and accurate translation, and there's some significance in the nuance. It's not that money is the root of evil. Money is a tool. Money is neutral. Money can be used for good, and it can be used for bad. It can be used for blessing, it can be used for cursing. It can be used self-centeredly and selfishly, or it can be used for the glory of God and for the sake of others, including your own family. What's being condemned here? The love of money, the desire of money, avarice and greed that says, gimme. Mine. It's this heart oriented towards stuff. I got to get more and more and more, and I got to get it all for me. And I'm going to get it while the getting's good. Okay? That's the problem that is being described here, not money in and of itself, but that love, that desire, that insatiable appetite, that greed, with the heart of loving money more than you love the Lord. That's the problem. And is it the root of all evil? It doesn't say that. It says all sorts of evil. Meaning, you lead a life that puts your priorities wrong. That goes after the gifts as a thing in and of itself as the most important place in your life rather than the giver of those gifts. And it's going to lead you in all sorts of trouble. It may be unique to you, it may be different than the other person, but it's going to lead to trouble, it's going to lead to heartache, it's going to lead to heartbreak. Maybe in this life, because you accumulate everything else and you find that no matter how much you get, it's never quite enough. Or maybe you'll accumulate it all and then you'll lose it. You will most certainly not take it with you, so there will come a point where it will do you no more good. Now, for the grown-ups here, and I know there's a bunch of kids, I think we have probably, if you are a grown-up, experienced this in sort of a practical first-hand thing, and we know this. We know that money's not going to solve your problems. Not ultimately. The kids don't know that yet. We need to teach them. They need to learn this. They need to experience it before they kind of get off track, because it's very easy to do. You're not going to get this message out there. The message in the world is, it's not more money, more problems. The idea is, the more money you have, the better your life will be. And my guess is, amongst us, we could pool our experiences and find people who have had very little and people who have had a lot. And if we're honest, in moments of honesty, I have never come across a person who said, my life was perfect when I had everything. Instead, you can't hear about something a celebrity does these days without hearing about how there's some sort of existential crisis. Somebody who seems to have it all as far as our culture is concerned, and yet they still feel lonely or empty or unsatisfied, or they feel broken on the inside. Money is not the solution in and of itself. Stuff will not perfect your life. And I think we know this. When I say easy come, easy go, I'm not trying to be flip, but I do think that is part of the reality of life. You can chase stuff so much that when you get it, have you ever bought that one product and your life was settled and set from then on out? I haven't. And I've yet to meet someone who said, it was that one model car. That was the one. That did it. and everything was good from there. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. That hole cannot be filled with things. It can only be filled, that hole in our heart, with the presence of Almighty God. He's the one who built it. He's the only one who can fill it. So, put your money where your mouth is, coming through what Paul writes to Timothy is this sense of, we say that the gospel is of paramount importance. We say that God's blessings to us are the greatest that we can experience or enjoy, that what He has blessed us with family, through friends, with our very lives. So don't take the easy way out of just accumulating more, of cramming your heart with stuff and with things, because it's ultimately going to fail you. With a heart focused on the Lord, Jesus will not fail you. Whether you have a little or whether you have a lot, Jesus will not fail you. That's going to be hard to do sometimes, but stand firm and fight for it because it's worth it. Now, there is some importance to this, because by taking the nuance of the love of money and the desire, and that's what's leading us to different sorts of trouble, I want us to keep in mind that it is neutral. It's a tool that can be used for good or for bad. We use it for good, I would say, every single Sunday. We will take a collection, and from the blessings that God has offered to us, money is simply one of those blessings. We've got some resources, we've got some abilities. We also have life and family, and we have skills, and we have all sorts of things that can be offered back to the glory of God. But we're going to take that offering, and money or cash or check or whatever, and that offering plate, what are we going to do with it? I'm not going to go hide it in shame somewhere. It's going to sit right on the altar, just like we bring forth the gifts of bread and wine, because it is a gift first bestowed by God on us and then offered in thanksgiving to Him to bless other people, to reach out to the poor, to fund programming that offers ministry to others, for all these sorts of things. It can be used for good. It's going to come to the altar because it's not dirty. It's not wrong. It's not the money that's the problem. It's how we use it. It's how it starts here and here. That's where all sorts of problems start to occur. We put our money where our mouth is, I believe, when we offer our tithes and offerings, because we're saying, thank you to the Lord, who is not just the author of our salvation, but the giver of all good gifts. So we give back in thanksgiving. We hope that those gifts will be blessings to others. But the real place today where I think we can see something very interesting about putting your money where your mouth is actually comes from our first reading. So thank you, Walter. Walter took one for the team. Because you didn't want to do it.
Nope.
You get into this reading. It's actually awesome. I love this reading. But listening to it or trying to read it, I don't know. I don't know. So I bought the field at Ananoth for my cousin Hamneel and weighed out the 17 shekels of silver. I signed and sealed the deed and had it witnessed and weighed on the silver on the scales, and I took the deed of purchase and the sealed copy containing the terms and conditions as well as the unsigned. Oh my gosh! It's like reading the terms and conditions in fine print. Oh, I'm going to die listening to this. This is like one of those endless genealogies where people keep begatting each other. Oh, why are we... Oh. This is actually a fantastic reading, but it comes across very, very dry and very dull. So let me finish trying to explain putting our money where our mouth is by unpacking this a little bit, because I'm convinced it's totally worthwhile. But you have to understand the story. So here's the context of the story. Jeremiah is a prophet of the southern kingdom. You know, the kingdom of Israel, which had been united under King David, has long since split north and south. And in the north, their idolatrous hearts took them far from God very early on. And the north was conquered, taken over, ceased to exist. The south, where Jerusalem was, where the temple was, this is God's holy city, this is the holy city of Zion, that stayed faithful longer. But even they started to stray. And over the generations, they got worse and worse and worse and worse. Jeremiah is a prophet of the southern kingdom living in Jerusalem, and he is prophesying God's judgment on Judah, the southern kingdom. The same way that the north was unfaithful and that it was lost, the same thing is going to happen here. Even though you're God's people, the same thing is going to happen here. And those words of judgment went over really not well. Some of those words of judgment were for the people, and some of them were directed to the king. The king was actually sort of a puppet king of the Babylonians, the big bad guys on the block these days. And he'd been put in power there as sort of this to serve them. But then as the Babylonians started getting bogged down in wars somewhere else, decided, ooh, I think I can take things over for myself. And so he turned into like a double crosser to like a triple crosser. And he thinks that he can pull a fast one over on Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians, and they say, oh no, you don't. And that's when the Babylonians come in force. They basically wipe out all the south. And the stronghold left is the city of Jerusalem. It's got walls all around it, and so everyone's gathered in there, and the Babylonians lay siege. If you know what siege means, that means that this army is now surrounding you on every side, and they are going to starve you out. If you want to leave the city, we're going to kill you. You either open the doors and let us in as conquerors, or we're going to seal you off, and I hope you can eat dirt, because after a while, that's all you're going to have left. So Jeremiah's been prophesying about this. He said it's going to happen. Nebuchadnezzar is going to be a tool of God's judgment. And he's preaching and prophesying against the king of Judah himself, saying, you're like part of the problem. You're one of the worst parts of it. So the king of Judah is unhappy with this, so he throws Jeremiah in jail there in the city. So they're now surrounded, they're under siege. Jeremiah, there in prison for preaching the truth, has a visitor, his uncle. Aww, isn't that nice? His uncle came to see him. And his uncle comes, have I got a deal for you? I know you're in prison, but I've got this great real estate deal for you. I've got this land, family land. Now, for the children of Israel, land was kind of a direct evidence of God's blessings to his people. And so it was supposed to be kept in the family. If you died or if you had to sell it for some reason, you were supposed to sell it to family members and they are supposed to buy. There's this kind of sense of duty and obligation to retain those blessings and honor God through having stuff maintained within the family line. And so this guy wants to sell this property. We are given no reason for this, but I think we can figure one out. So he owns this little bit of land, and guess where it is in relationship to Jerusalem? Outside of the city walls. Meaning, it is currently occupied by an invading army. Meaning, does he actually own this land? No. Babylon owns this land. Now, he may have a piece of paper that says, this belongs to me, but that's all that it is at this point, is a piece of paper. So he goes to his family member, Jeremiah, in jail to say, ooh, you need to buy this. Not only is it a good deal, but you need to buy this in order to keep it into the family. And only a stupid person would take a deal like that. This is of the level of, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you, or I've got some farmland in the Everglades. Okay? This is a worthless piece of paper because that land now belongs not to Jeremiah's family, that land belongs to Babylon. Okay? The south has been wiped out, Jerusalem is all that's left, and Jeremiah knows they are next. And it's going to happen. So, Jeremiah woulda, coulda, shoulda just said, no. It's a terrible deal. You are a horrible uncle. No. But that's not what he does. Why? Okay, God has communicated to Jeremiah in the same way that Jeremiah has been able to preach and prophesy about the coming judgment through Babylon, that this precise scenario is going to happen. The uncle's going to come, he's going to sell this land, and that Jeremiah needs to buy it. So he does. He takes this awful deal. And he does it with full and complete formality. You know, we got this detail about and we weighed the 17 shekels of silver, and we wrote it down, and they stamped it, and they sealed it, and we put it in a pot and bury it so it'll last a good long time, that these records won't be destroyed and lost. They're sitting around the closing table, and everyone's signing with their attorneys and stuff. So not only does he take the bad deal, but he goes through all of the stuff to do it just the right way, and then to preserve it. Why in the world would he do something so crazy? He would do something so crazy because he trusts in the promises of God. Jeremiah has been preaching judgment is coming, but he's also been preaching restoration will come. This is not the end of the story. Yes, you are going to lose. And yes, that loss will be utter and complete. It will be devastation. You are going to be carried away far from your home. But he has also been preaching that God has promised that that will not be the end of the story. That the people will come back one day. That lives and homes and families will be restored. That God will redeem even this judgment. So Jeremiah puts his money in his mouth. It's a terrible deal. The uncle thinks he's pulled a fast one. That, he's bought this worthless piece of paper. But Jeremiah said, I've been given the opportunity to show that I trust God's promise. Not just to give you the money, but we're going to preserve this. So when the day comes, we will all know. You can see me that I really trust that this is true. I'm not just saying, God's made a promise and he's going to restore us. I will put my shekels on the line. I will put my life on the line. I will put everything that I have and every bit of what I am on the line because I trust in the Lord and he keeps his promises. He's going to keep his promise of judgment. Jerusalem's going to be lost. Now, the entire book, Lamentations, is about the lamentation of Jeremiah. Jeremiah's job is to witness the destruction of Jerusalem. His whole job is just sit there and watch family, friends, his neighborhood, his hometown just be overrun and destroyed, and then record the sadness and the grief. The people of Israel, the people of Judah who have lost this are now going to be taken away to a foreign country in Babylon. And they will talk about for generations how they're far away from home, and they're going to sit in Babylon and they're going to remember what it used to be like living under God's promises in Judah. They're going to remember what it used to be like, or the stories that their parents and their grandparents used to tell, and they will weep. But it won't be fair. The big bad bully on the block, Babylon, who looked unstoppable, like they're going to take over the world, well, Cyrus and the Persians will come and destroy them. Nebuchadnezzar will actually go crazy. It takes generations, 70 years of being far away from home, but Cyrus will actually send them back and to say, rebuild your temple, rebuild the walls of the city, rebuild your homes, regain your promise. The wager that Jeremiah made so long ago with that uncle who was trying to sell him a worthless piece of paper. It's not so worthless when we know what the true stakes are. It's not so worthless when we know what the true return is. In terms of financial sense, it was probably a bad decision. But in terms of his faith, in terms of his hope, in eternal terms of things that will actually last, not just in this world, but in the life to come, this decision by Jeremiah is precious, it is perfect, it makes perfect sense. He is given the chance, and Jeremiah stands firm. He is given the opportunity, and Jeremiah fights the good fight. He is faced with putting his money where his mouth is, and he does, because he truly believes. the mercy of God, the goodness of God, the promises of God, and he is willing to stake his money on it. He is willing to stake his life on it. He is willing to stake everything he has and every part of who he is on these promises, knowing for good and for sure that God keeps his promises. It's not easy, but it's right. Faced with what is easy and faced with what is right, stand firm. Stand strong. Don't give up. Don't quit. Put your money where your mouth is, valuing the giver of all good things rather than the gifts themselves. Not that the stuff is wrong or bad, but the stuff is never greater than our Lord. To use and receive as a blessing for ourselves, but also for others. And when push comes to shove, don't just sit down or give up. Stand back up and fight the good fight of the faith. It is worth it. It is worth it in this life. It is worth it in the life to come. It is worth your money. It is worth your lives. It is worth everything that we are, everything that makes us who we are. Put your money where your mouth is. Honor the Lord and stand up because he will keep his promises.